So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I travelled full-time for 7.5 years. I'm going to talk about things like how much money I had when I left, how I saved up money and what jobs I did to do that, what jobs I've had on the road. Hopefully that will help you. Maybe you've done some of these jobs before and didn't actually realise that you can do them while you're travelling. And talk about a few of the places I've been and how I got where I am today, which is basically being a full-time traveller, digital nomad, working full-time on the road, and I do not plan to stop anytime soon. So this is the kind of lifestyle that you are looking for. Hopefully this video will provide a bit of information. I really don't want it to be too waffly, but if you feel like you want to just put me on in the background and go do something while you listen, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll have some pictures up here, probably quite embarrassing pictures of my journey. So this is going to be kind of like a story timeline of how I've made it work for me and how you could potentially make it work for you as well. Let's start off on my story from when I was a child. We didn't go on yearly abroad holidays. We went on this one abroad holiday to Austria, and I think maybe this is where it all started, because I don't have many memories from my childhood because I've got a terrible memory, but I have really vivid memories of like flowers and mountains and like meadows and stuff like that. And I think I don't know, that must have a switch turned on in my brain. I knew that was it. When I was 16, I left school and started working full time. I know these days a lot of people go to uni, or I guess most people go to uni, and a lot of people did back then, but it just didn't even really interest me that much. So I was working full time straight away, living with my parents obviously. I was working in a bakery, Greggs. If you're from the UK, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say Greggs. It's like the famous bakery in England. And I was also singing and playing guitar in bars and hotels and restaurants and things. So I was working ridiculously long hours, really determined to save up money. Anyway, just before I was 18, I managed to buy a little van, and I did a lot of exploring around England, singing at music festivals and things like that, and I absolutely loved it. And I guess from there I needed something more exciting, like more adventurous. I was always craving something more, and I think that's not a good personality trait, because I probably am never truly happy where I am. I always want something more exciting, more adrenaline maybe. Anyway, it was around November 2014, and my best friend's older sister was going to New Zealand, and I was like, yes, okay, I will come, we'll do it, we'll go. And I was only going to go for about 3 months anyway. When I left, I had £3,500. That was it, and that's a lot of money. I thought, this is going to last me ages. But unfortunately, New Zealand has skydiving, bungee jumping, whitewater rafting, caving, abseiling. It has every activity you could possibly want to do, and I wanted to do them all. So that £3,500 burnt through ridiculously fast. So I got to about middle-ish of the North Island in New Zealand, and I was in Taupo, and I really needed to start working. So I got a job in a restaurant, realised I was the worst waitress on the planet. I don't know why I'm so bad at it. I was so bad at it. Did a little chefing job. I lied and said I was just, like, I've been a sous chef before, but they figured that out after a day, and I got fired. Then I worked in like a little boat pizza place on the lake, which I did for a little while, but I just didn't know what I wanted, and I wasn't very good at anything, but I was learning all this stuff about myself and figuring out what I wanted to do one day. But at this point, social media wasn't really a thing, so you couldn't really go on Instagram and see what other people are doing, because it existed, but it wasn't like, it didn't exist like it does on today's level. So you can't, it's just kind of like learning what to do, how to stay on the road, and stuff like that. Anyway, I earned enough money after a while to be able to buy this little 6-seater people carrier thing that had already been converted by this Czech couple really well, actually. It was a really good little car, even it did break down a few times, but it was comfortable. And I travelled all around the North Island and all around the South Island in that, until I got to a place called Queenstown, where I ran out of money. Plus, I loved Queenstown and knew I wanted to stay there for a bit anyway, so it kind of worked out. But I needed to find a job, obviously. How I did that was I just walk around with my CV. That's kind of more the old-fashioned way. I don't know if people still do that these days, but I walked around with my CV and ended up getting a job as a cleaner at AJ Hackett Bungee, which is like the first bungee jump place in the entire world. All the people do a bungee jump in Queenstown. It's like the thing to do. So I was there cleaning toilets for a few months, which wasn't the dream, but it kind of was, because I was out there independently actually looking after myself and surviving, and it was just so cool at the time. But obviously I was striving for something more exciting, to like learn something. I wanted a job where I could learn something from it. So I applied to be a photographer on this boat called the Earnslaw, which is like a little steamboat, and I thought there's no chance of me getting this job because I have absolutely no photography experience whatsoever. But if you don't try, you will never get. Because I tried and I did get, somehow I got the job, and I did that for a while, and it was really cool. And I thought, you know what, photography is really, really good. Actually, I could do this. Even though I was just taking like portraits of people getting on the boat, trying to sell them to the people. It was a company called Magic Memories. If any of you have heard of it, but if you've been to a really touristy place, maybe you've had someone take a photo of you and then try and sell it to you straight away. That's what I did. And that took me up until the point where I'd been in New Zealand for a year. And obviously I had a working holiday visa, and you can only work for a year out of that. So I was going to have to leave the country. But at this time, and the years before it, I looked like this. This is me when I was younger. I had dreadlocks, and I used to do people's dreadlocks for them and like tidy them up. So I was earning a bit of extra money doing that, which was really cool. And I was doing this one girl's dreadlocks, and I said to her that I was having to leave the country because I just couldn't find a job that would sponsor me to stay, like beyond my working holiday visa. And she said, "Oh, I will give you the contact of my boss. She'll hire you. She'll sponsor you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But she did, and I got this job at this place called Zephyr, which is like a really like grungy bar, which I would finish work at 5 a.m. every day. It was ridiculous. It was so crazy. But then the same company owned an ice bar, which the hours weren't so late, and I was a bit of a baby because I couldn't stay awake that long. So they put me in the ice bar, and sponsored me to stay there. And I could have stayed there for as long as I want. In fact, I could still be working there now if I wanted to. But at this time, I was really running out of money. The rent prices in Queenstown were just going up and up and up and up during the time I was there. It was getting more of a popular place, maybe due to like Instagram becoming more of a thing. I don't know, but it was very expensive. So I had to start working for accommodation at the same time as working in the ice bar. So this is a top tip if you're wanting to go to pretty much anywhere. I think most places you could try it. Is to work for accommodation. So I went into this hostel and basically worked like 3 hours in the morning and got a free night's stay, and that is where I met Jake, who was also, who started doing the working for accommodation while I was there, and he said to me after obviously like a month of us knowing each other, maybe less, "Do you want to come on a road trip?" And he had a little car at this point. I'd already sold my car long ago. And I said, yes, okay, we'll go on this road trip. So we went all the way around the South Island, planning at the end of it to just part ways because he was going to Australia and I didn't really know what I was going to do. Maybe stay in Queenstown, maybe go to Canada or something. But in the end, I obviously went to Australia with him. So when we got there, we got jobs on a farm, which a lot of people do when they get to Australia, mainly because when you get your working holiday visa, you can get your second year. I can't remember. You can get your second year if you do your day's work on a farm. So you can tick off however many days. I can't remember how many days it was, but we did do them all. We got them all ticked off. My body is still, all these years later, not recovered from the farm work. It was honestly one of the hardest things I've done in my entire life. But I wouldn't go back and not do it. Like, it was a mental experience. I met some amazing people. Yeah, but it's hard work. But because you're in the middle of absolute nowhere, there's nowhere to spend your money, and we just got a bus to the food shop like once a week to do our food shop, so we were saving like so much money. And then after that we bought a little tiny car with a picture here, and we slept in that and travelled all around the west coast, all up the middle, right through the bottom, and just saw so much of Australia. And we didn't go to the east coast because it was like touristy and we wanted to go the less trodden path, so that's what we did. And I honestly thought I would never sleep in a car with the spiders and snakes of Australia, and we did have a few close calls, a few tears, a few panic attacks, a lot of spiders, a couple of snakes, but it's all part of the experience. So yeah, Australia is absolutely amazing. For me, not as good as New Zealand, so I don't know if I'll go back and do my second year, but I might do. So yeah, there was all that, but by this point I hadn't been back to England in like 4 years or something. And so I did that. I went back to visit, and it was amazing. But I desperate to keep travelling. Like, at no point in my mind did I think, right, I'll go back to the UK and just stay there. Like, I had a taste for it now, and I had to continue. So basically at this point, it was me and Jake. Jake has a degree, like, you know, the bit of paper that says you're an intelligent human being. I don't have a bit of paper that says I'm an intelligent human being, so I thought, no, there's no way I'll get an online job, so I don't know what I can do. But after a lot of research, we managed to get some TEFL certificates. I got my TEFL certificate. We both got them on voucher for £20. You can also get them on like Groupon and stuff like that. They're the same as the really expensive ones, but for some reason the discounted ones exist, and I don't know why, but that's what we did. It didn't take long to get it, like a few weeks I think. Could have done it quicker, but I struggle with like sitting down and concentrating for long periods of time. But we did our interview for Powfish and got it straight away. I think the main thing is you just have to be really like silly, because you're teaching kids and you have to be like really relatable to kids, which maybe I am. I don't know. I was crazy in my interview anyway, so we got it. And then we were officially working online, which was amazing. We could get anywhere we wanted, and we did. We went all over Asia just doing this teaching online, which is perfect because we were working for a Chinese company, and the hours that the kids would do the classes would be their after school hours, which obviously, say we're in Thailand, that's a very similar time zone, so we could just explore all day and work in the evening. And we did this for a few years, and it was amazing. It was kind of exhausting. At one point we were moving like every 2 days, every 3 days, teaching online, and we were doing it at the same time, so we'd have to either find a room with a bathroom with a thick door, which, trust me, when you spend hours on Google reviews looking for pictures of whether the door's thick enough for the two of you to teach in the same room without affecting each other's noise situations, like, never again do I want to do that. Or you would have to buy 2 separate rooms. So we went to Thailand eventually and just did 40-hour weeks on working online to save loads of money. And all this whole time, everything was going on since like Australia. I was posting photos on Instagram constantly, 5 days a week, doing stories, putting information out there about travel. Started my blog then. I can't remember when it was when I started She Is the Lost Girl, but before that I was called Beth's Wandering. But She Is the Lost Girl started at one point, and that was my goal, to get that to be my full-time job, and Jake's photography would fit into that nicely, so that was it, that was the plan. Anyway, I didn't think it was ever going to happen, and it was so slow, and there were so many points where I felt like I was going to give up, honestly. But the teaching online was just like, we were so lucky to be doing that at the same time. We went back to the UK and the pandemic started, and travelling just seemed impossible, but there was no way we could stop, in a way, because we didn't have a house of our own. We found this van, this empty works van on eBay for £4,900, and we bought it. It was a risk. It only had 42,000 miles, and for that price, it had no service history, but we were like, we have to risk it. And we did. Obviously, if you follow along on Instagram, you'll know that it worked out perfectly fine. We're very lucky, but we converted the van for £3,000, which, if you need tips on that, we have a whole Our World Horizons YouTube channel, which I'll link below in the description, has got all of our van build tutorials and stuff like that. But anyway, we did that, and we moved into the van, and the teaching online transferred so well. The only thing, instead of obviously being in that same time zone as China, we were now having to teach from like 10 AM till 3 PM, I think that was it, which was kind of annoying because we wanted to be exploring during those hours, but it kind of felt like we were not really getting to see as much as we wanted to see because we were working during the day. And also another thing, we couldn't earn as much money because we couldn't teach at the same time in the van, so we had to work, I had to work a couple of hours, then Jake would work a couple of hours. But yeah, there just wasn't time in the day to work loads and loads because we'd have to work at different times. So I really started to practice editing, start learning how to make little videos. Like, I knew that the main goal had to happen at some point, even though it was just, it felt so impossible. But yeah, then while we were in Spain, things started to kick off on Instagram and stuff like that. and we kept on teaching for a while. It was a bit of a safety net, but in the end I was like, no, I quit the teaching job. Jake carried on for a bit, and I just had to make it work. Really wanted to do content creation and photography full time, and it did. And I think a certain amount of trusting the universe at this point had to come into it, because at some point you've just got to be like, no, I am making this happen. Like, it has got to happen right now, otherwise I've got no choice for it to not work out. So that's kind of the situation that I put myself in, and it did work out. We've been doing this for quite a few months now. I have no concept of time, but maybe like 8 months or something. And at some point I'll make a video about exactly how much money I make doing this content creation Instagram job. But yeah, so I hope this video, even though it's been a bit of a story time about how I got to this point, I hope that it showed you that you can do literally any job. It doesn't have to be an online job to make this lifestyle work. Even if you want to do van life, you can still work in like a bar here and there, do a little seasonal farm job, do like fruit picking or something. Like, there's so many options. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below, or if you have a question about literally anything, just put it in the comments and I will get back to you. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it hasn't been too long, and basically the direction I'm going with this YouTube channel, things like how much money I spend in a month, how I deal with my hair not having hardly any water, how many outfits I've got in the van, how I make minimalism work as someone who kind of needs outfits to take photos in and stuff like that. Anyway, that's kind of where this channel will go. I might post once every 2 weeks, or once a month, or once a week if it goes well. I don't know. But thank you for sticking with me to this point of the video, and see you in the next one.